How you do, Don?
We welcome him back. He's our Kings NBA insider for the Drive Guys. Of course, you read his outstanding material in The Athletic. Anthony Slater with us. Slate's happy opening night. Are you going to be joining us in attendance at Golden One Center tonight?
I am actually in Denver for Thunder Nuggets. I'm on this little Pacific Northwest Rocky Mountain swing where I'm going Portland, Denver, Salt Lake the first 3 nights of the season.
Hey, Slates, hold on now. Hold up, big fella. Hold up.
Yes,
I happen to be listening to that morning show today, and I think Sam's in Denver also.
Yeah.
Y'all doubling up on this or what?
He's doing Nuggets thing. I'm actually doing a Thunder thing out here. The Thunder are the visitors tonight. And then I'm heading to Warriors Jazz tomorrow. I should be at Monday Kings Blazers. You know, the Blazers team, which by the way I saw last night. That should be a nice matchup, you would think, for the Kings. Although the preseason game, I don't know. We don't need to go too deep into that one. But
yeah, Slates. Let me ask you. We were just talking about this. How do you think Jason Tatum felt when he looked at the box score and saw that Steve Kerr played 14 guys last night?
I thought it would have been even funnier if I'm sure Jason Tatum wasn't locked into Steve Kerr's post game, but he was just talking about, I just couldn't tell anybody they couldn't play. So I just decided
yeah.
That one probably had to hurt him and Halliburton, although Halliburton seemed to take it a little bit better than Tatum.
Yeah. What are you expecting from DeMar DeRozan first game here in Sacramento? We've seen other teams first outings sort of struggle. Julius Randle, Cat the other night. What are you expecting from DeRozan tonight?
I think he'll be aggressive, probably in the first quarter. Kind of try to get to his shot, but it's not an easy matchup. Like Jaden McDaniels, Anthony Edwards. Those 2 of the better, like bigger, bulkier wing defenders in the league that could probably give him a little bit of trouble. Now Minnesota did not look good the other night. You mentioned I thought Julius Randle looked really low energy. But again, DeRozan, I do think is going to kind of want to make a little bit of a louder statement. And then it's not necessarily the showcase TNT game of the night, but honestly, Thunder Nuggets is really good, but it's a really nice opening night matchup. And I think DeRozan knows that. In some ways, he's back on a more competitive stage. I'm sure he thought the Bulls were going to be a little bit more competitive the last 2 years, but I think he'll come out, like I said, aggressive.
Anthony Slater with us. And Slates, let's say, I know you've known Mike Brown a long time. Let's say, and he may have done this. What if he called you and said, look, what do I do defensively? Who do I put on Ant-Man? Who do I put on Julius Randle? Where do I put Keegan? What do I do with DeMar? What's your best guess? Or what would your advice be for Coach if he came to you with that question?
Yeah, it's a little tough, especially because it seems like Kevin Huerter's going to start most likely. I don't know if that's officially announced, but and so, you don't necessarily have the Keon Ellis weapon to deploy defensively. I'd say probably Keegan Murray on Edwards. I think Keegan Murray, especially because I think we all believe his offensive role is lessening. Another high-usage guy in DeRozan coming in, that he's kind of morphing into a little bit more of your defensive ace who can shoot at 3-and-D wing. He'll score some, but I think you put him on the best perimeter scorer on most nights to start. If Herter's in the lineup, so him on Edwards. You could have Sabonis banging with Randall down there. Gobert, you can kind of be more creative with your Gobert matchups, but DeRozan on them for stretches. And if Minnesota just decides they want to do a bunch of Rudy Gobert post-ups, I think you live with that. You saw that a little bit the other night against the Lakers. So I think you worry most about Edwards and you kind of figure it out.
Our guy Anthony Slater joining us here on the Drive, guys, coming to you live from Beach Hut Deli, right across the street from Golden One Center. Slates, when you look at the addition of DeRozan, who do you think it impacts the most, and how do they overcome that to start the season?
I think from a just strict shot attempt perspective, probably Keegan Murray. I do wonder, as we've all thought he's kind of been on this path of ascension, and still maybe just strictly as a player, but I just think statistically he kind of has to take more of a backseat than Fox or Sabonis. So I just think the way Fox and Sabonis play, it's a little bit more they won't fade to the background as much as I think Keegan's probably going to have to at times in a certain lineup this season. As far as when I think about it on a possession basis, I just wonder where DeRozan fits and how he moves when Sabonis is posting up, and then vice versa. I talked to Sabonis about this a little bit, but and he talked to DeRozan about like how Andre Drummond used to move around and kind of dive cut and kind of find little windows for passes when DeRozan's posting up. But it's still it's 2024. It's tough to fit two guys in such compacted space. And typically, you either want a guy, you want the guy with the ball, and anybody who doesn't have the ball, you want stretched out all the way out to three. And maybe you do see Sabonis take a few more threes this year, but I don't know that the defense is going to stretch out there with him. So, like I said, as I see it on a possession-by-possession basis, I do wonder how him and DeRozan and Sabonis kind of co-inhabit.
Anthony Slater with us. Slates, as you know, one of the things that we've been going back and forth with all summer with fans and with each other is who starts at the two guard. And as you mentioned, it looks like it's Kevin Huerter. Did that surprise you? And what do you think the thinking was behind the decision, assuming, again, that that's what happens, to start Kevin Huerter at the two guard tonight?
Yeah, I get it. I think they want to recreate in some ways what they were a couple of years ago. And like Kevin Huerter had a huge season. Like Kevin Huerter's shown to be a really good player in the league. I know he had a deep, extended slump last year, and Mike continually kind of was pulling him in and out. But I think the best way to maybe reach Kevin Huerter and get him jump started, get him in that starting lineup, get him into DHO actions with Sabonis, spreading the floor, rediscovering the top five offense. Like you need to find that Kevin Huerter. You need to find it for this season's team, and also if he becomes a trade chip at the deadline, a lot more appealing trade chip on the market if he looks like a good Kevin Huerter than if he's 12 minutes per game off the bench and they can't seem to find a role for him. Keon Ellis didn't have that good of a preseason. That's the other thing I think that's at play here. Like if maybe they had not necessarily had a good record in the preseason, but if everyone had felt good about how the starters were playing together, how Keon Ellis looked, how much spirit and defensive juice maybe that group had, maybe he doesn't make this type of move. But if we all saw it, why not shake it up? Why not see if Kevin Huerter some kind of do some things with that starting?
Anthony Slater joining us. Anthony, I listen to some of the pundits out there, and I see some of the preseason predictions, and a lot of places have the Kings maybe in the play-in again, or fighting for a playoff. Well, what's the, I guess, basement? What's the floor for this team? Is it 7 or 8? Could you possibly see them as a play-in team? I understand the West is tough. Where do you see this team?
I mean, I would say if you're just asking the floor of a team in the West, I would say there's at least 6 or 7 teams. I'd say the floor is the 11th seed, just because of how stacked it is. Just because what was last year the 10 seed was 46 wins. Like the Warriors are sitting down there at 46, and the difference between 46 and 51, which was up at 4 or 5, that's a 5-win difference. It's like 5 or 6 seeds. So if you think Houston, I usually, especially in situations like this with how much of a traffic jam the West is, I usually try to think of it bottom up. Like, what teams do we know they're going to be better? Portland saw them last night. I do believe they'll be better in Portland. Utah, I don't think it's going to happen this year. I'm still not ready for San Antonio. And Houston just lost last night to the Hornets. I'm not trying to take much up a one-game sample, but I'm not as high as other people seem to be. So at that point, you could, could the Pelicans be better? Could the Grizzlies with Job, who was great last night, be better than them? Could some of these name any other teams in the mix? I thought Lakers were pretty impressive on opening night. If the Kings have a bad stretch, if they have a poorly timed victory, if they finish the season at 42, 43 wins, which by the way is not that bad of a season overall, that could still be the 10th, 11th season in the West. Whereas, look, if things break right, if they win some of those close games late, which I do think their season is going to be dictated on, can DeRozan and Fox get them over the hump in crunch time in big matchups? But if they get to 51 wins, that could be a 3-4 seed. So I try not to think of it too much. The last 2 seasons are a great example, right? What were they, just 2 wins worse last year? Yet they were bottom side of play-in, whereas the season before, they're the 3 seed. Hosting game 1. So sometimes exact win totals are very different depending on the season. So it's just so crazy compact, and like I said, a bad injury at the wrong time or a hot stretch at the right time can swing so much. But they're in the mix. But that's all I'd say. They're in the mix. They should be competitive. They're going to have to stay healthy, find themselves. I think they're going to have to kind of find their identity. Like, are they going to go back to what they were a couple years ago where they're just going to blow you out of the gym offensively and try to survive defensively? Or will Mike Brown just be so on them defensively? Will that impact the offensive end? So I don't know. I mean, it's a long-winded answer. But if you ask my floor, again, I'd say their floor is 10, 11 because I would really tell you that that's the floor of about 7.
Yeah, it seems like there's about 7 teams at least in the West where they could be 4th. They could be 11th. Thanks, Anthony. We appreciate it. Happy travels, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, fellas.